After dinner, I was standing in the kitchen and washing the dishes. When washing all of these dishes, I kept the television powered on by the dining area so that I could simultaneously tune into a television show known as How I Met Your Mother. I thought it was a great way for me to stay productive in the kitchen for long periods of time if there is a form of entertainment in the background, such as a television series. Divided attention is our ability to focus on or perform multiple tasks at once. We are carrying out two or more tasks or paying attention to two or more tasks simultaneously. And in this specific experience, I am dividing my attention between washing the dishes and watching a television show. The shows that I watch while dividing attention are normally light shows like How I Met Your Mother, The Fosters, Wizards of Waverly Place, and not shows that keep me on the edge like Criminal Minds, You, and The Penthouse. Therefore, I found that divided attention was possible for me as I've had what you can consider practice with this since I always divide my attention this way. For my particular experience, I am watching a very light show called How I Met Your Mother, which does not require my complete focus or full attention since it's more of a comedy, unlike Criminal Minds, where I would have to pay attention to little details and process the information that is being provided to me. That's almost like paying attention in lecture, and I can't really do that while washing the dishes. This experience occurred during spring break, and at this moment in time, I was binge watching The Penthouse for the entire week. As much as how I wanted to watch The Penthouse, the best series on the planet, while doing other tasks, like washing the dishes, I can't really do that because the additional tasks of reading subtitles would make divided attention far too complex. Divided attention is possible when tasks are relatively easy. Therefore, I resorted to turning on How I Met Your Mother. If I understood Korean, I might have reconsidered watching The Penthouse while doing the dishes instead, because then the two tasks would be possible. However, it is still a series that I need to focus on, so I might need to rewatch some parts again because divided attention is still pretty difficult even if it's possible. Basically, the harder or more complex the tasks are, the harder it is to divide attention. I figured it would be more enjoyable for me to wait so that I can put my entire focus on watching the drama instead of having to divide my attention and end up having to rewatch like some scenes or some parts afterwards. As I was washing the dishes while watching How I Met Your Mother, I am doing this via the phonological loop and the visual spatial sketchpad where I am holding on to and maintaining visual information. The phonological loop is also a part of Baddeley's model of working memory, where you are holding on to and maintaining auditory, verbal speech information, which helps me remember information. It basically has to do with acoustic or verbal information like speech. As I am tuning into this show while washing my dishes, and occasionally glancing over at the screen, I am mostly maintaining the auditory information that is being spoken by the actors. When I am finished with washing the dishes, I can still remember what was going on in the show because I was simultaneously watching it. I was paying attention to what I was listening to when I was also focusing on washing the dishes. I was processing the information that I heard so that I could understand the meaning, the plot, and the overall context of the show. To reiterate, as I was watching How I Met Your Mother in the kitchen, I occasionally looked up to the television screen while washing my dishes. I was also aware of what was playing in the background and the context of the show even when I was not looking at the screen. The auditory information was processed via the phonological loop, where I held onto and maintained the auditory verbal speech information. What the characters in the show were saying are the verbal information that were assumed to automatically enter into the phonological store and is encoded there. All of this occurred while I was focusing on two tasks at once: washing the dishes and tuning into How I Met Your Mother. Lastly, it is also important to note the significance in the role of a central executive, which we can think of as like a CEO or the central executive that is in charge of a company or a business. It provides control over working memory as the phonological loop and visual spatial sketchpad are put into action. The phonological loop and visual spatial sketchpad sends information to the central executive. The central executive exerts cognitive control over phonological and visual spatial information, decides which information is maintained, and manipulates the maintained information. In short, the central executive gets all of the visual information, auditory information, decides what's important, what should be held on to, what can be ignored and let pass by, and is also in charge of manipulating information. This is an important role tied to the phonological loop, along with the visual spatial sketchpad, that all allowed me to divide my attention and use my working memory as I was performing my two tasks. Even when I was mostly just listening to what was occurring in the show, and sometimes glancing over at the screen, I can still remember the context of what I watched a week from the experience, so I can continue on with the next episode because information was processed in my memory. Because the tasks were relatively easy to me and I've been doing this for a long time, I was able to divide my attention between washing the dishes and watching the show, all while grasping the context of what I was watching while cleaning the dishes thoroughly.